What role did the Ottoman Empire play in shaping European history? Now, you may have heard that historically, Christianity and Islam were at opposing ends. But there's another narrative, one argued by British historian Mark David Beer's book, The Ottomans. He says the Ottoman Empire should be seen as an inseparable part of the history of Europe, and not as something detached from it, and that their story is the unacknowledged part of the history the West tells about itself. The common European narrative about the Ottomans emphasizes a religious empire that the European Christendom sought to remain separate from. But there's more to the story, considering at its peak, the Ottoman Empire stretched across 3 continents and controlled almost a quarter of Europe, including Serbia, Bosnia, Hungary, and Greece. The peak of Ottoman power and influence came in the 16th century under Suleiman the Magnificent. It was a time when the Ottomans were leaders in science, philosophy, art, and architecture.
To Europeans who both feared and admired him, he was Suleiman the Magnificent.
During Suleiman the Magnificent's 40-year reign, he ruled over 25 million people on 3 continents. His empire was rich, diverse, and always expanding. Their influence and culture is still found throughout these regions.
The period under Suleiman was also a time of peace and prosperity, where various ethnic groups and religions lived together. And according to David Beer, the incorporation of Christians and Jews into the empire meant that the Ottoman legacy was still felt across Europe, Turkey, and the Middle East today. And Alan Mikhail, a history professor at Yale University, argues that if it wasn't for the Ottoman Empire, the West wouldn't have started their age of exploration, the era when Europeans would sail across the globe from the late 15th century till the 17th. Mikhail says that it was the Ottoman monopoly of trade routes with the East, combined with their military power, that pushed Spain and Portugal out of the Mediterranean. He says explorers like Columbus and Vasco da Gama calibrated their actions in reaction to the reach and grasp of Ottoman power. And this period happens to coincide with the European Renaissance. At the time, the Ottomans were the biggest trading partners of Western Europe. Daniel Goffman, author of The Ottoman Empire and Early Modern Europe, argues that because Ottoman trade in the Mediterranean was so extensive, they played a significant role in the development of Europe. But it wasn't just through trade that the Ottomans contributed to European history. They were also at the forefront of cartography. Glenn Cooper, an assistant professor at Brigham Young University, said that Ottoman maps of the Mediterranean were unparalleled for the time. The Piri-Reis map of the 16th century shows the entire eastern coast of North and South America in relation to Africa. Ottoman lands were also known for their diversity. One great example of this happened after 1492, when Spain expelled its Jewish population. Cooper says the only place for them to go was to Ottoman lands, which welcomed their talents and accepted what they could offer. The end of the Ottoman Empire also ended the golden age of Jewish and Arab cooperation. When we think of European history, we remember the Roman emperors, Frankish kings, and Russian tsars. But often overlooked were the Ottomans, who were territorially just as integrated into Europe as their Roman predecessors. And that integration coincided with arguably 2 of Europe's most important turning points, the Age of Exploration and the Renaissance, both of which are hard to imagine happening without the Ottomans.